Sponsored by Surfshark. For nearly a year, I've dual-wielded Samsung's Galaxy Fold 4 and Flip 4 as a daily driver 1-2 punch for workday productivity and weekend portable playtime. Same as the Fold 3 and Flip 3 before that, and the second and first generations before, as you well know. I am an OG foldy boy. But this year, for the first time in American foldable history, Samsung faces competition in both categories. On the clamshell front, Motorola's Razr Plus is a real affront, thanks to its larger front. At the same time, the Galaxy Fold's large format dominance is threatened by the Google Pixel Fold and the upcoming OnePlus foldable. Well, Samsung invited me to an early hands-on at its pop-up experience center in Herald Square to see the heat it's bringing to compete. The meaningfully different Galaxy Flip 5 and the exceedingly familiar Galaxy Fold 5. First, let's cover what these have in common. Thanks to a revised hinge, both Fold and Flip now fold flat when closed. Each still enjoys IPX8 water resistance. No, the rumored dust-proofing is not in evidence. And each now flexes its folding screen a little differently. In place of the old U-type narrow radius bend, there's apparently now a wider radius water drop fold, more like what every other foldable manufacturer uses. I say apparently because, try as I might, I could not find a meaningful diminishment of the crease when compared with the 4th gen models. Not that the crease is a showstopper, but compare these Samsungs with the first impression I got off of some of the Oppo, Vivo, or Motorola foldables I've reviewed, and, well, Samsung just doesn't seem to consider this an area in which it must impress. Now, the company did say those fatter folds, simplified hinges, and a new shock-absorbing layer beneath the displays should help solve the problem of displays cracking over time. But while I do believe the folks who told me that are being genuine, Samsung has a credibility problem when it comes to durability, which I'll get to at the end. Anyway, each phone is running on a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 for Galaxy, and Qualcomm's image signal processor contained within should help out with photo and video quality. Which is good, because Samsung tells me the camera hardware, again on both, is almost totally identical year over year, save for some spec tweaks to the selfie cameras and possibly a new anti-reflective coating on the lenses. Sigh. Everything else is as expected. Gorilla Glass Victus 2 for the bodies, Armor aluminum for the frames, and a sheer-sided design available in 3 official colors for the Fold and 4 for the Flip, not counting bespoke options and Samsung.com exclusives. And you know what? After that rundown, we can kind of call it a wrap for first impressions of the Fold 5. The software differences are incredibly minor, just a taskbar with slightly more room for recent apps and some drag-and-drop improvements in multi-window. The thing I'm most looking forward to when review time comes around is the revised S Pen. It's much smaller than prior Fold styli, which means the case it lives in can be much slimmer. No, it's not a proper silo built into the phone, but little by little, we're getting there, folks. If you prefer the older, girthier pen, you'll be happy to know it's forward compatible with the Fold 5. Most importantly, we haven't seen bright colors on an S Pen since the Galaxy Note 9, 5 years ago. And the Fold 5 finally brings them back, proving that Samsung isn't totally allergic to fun, after all. Speaking of fun, let's flip the page to the Galaxy Flip 5. Like the Fold, the Flip keeps things pretty predictable inside, but the idea this year is you shouldn't need to open it nearly as often, thanks to a 3.4-inch cover screen Samsung's calling the Flex Window. And let's kill 2 elephants with one room. Yes, Motorola beat him to the punch here. The Razr Plus cover screen is more symmetrical, and out of the box it can do more, letting you run any app your crazy heart desires on its 3.6-inch expanse. While Samsung as a whole is infamous for packing as many features as it can into a phone, the company has been incredibly conservative with its external displays over the years, adding only a few features with each iteration. And while that's been frustrating for a feature freak like me, I have to admit it's also resulted in very reliable, stable cover screens. For the Flip 5, Samsung has extrapolated that experience to the Flex window, with more than a dozen new widgets designed specifically for this canvas, laid out in a fairly intuitive interface that'll be familiar to anyone who's used a Galaxy Watch. And while I've criticized the company in the past for shipping a Galaxy Flip and then literally never updating its cover screen with any new features, Samsung says, quote, "Many more widgets are to come," unquote. And even if that doesn't pan out, it doesn't really matter. Because yes, you'll be able to run any app you want to out here too, just like on the Razr Plus. The only difference is that here you'll have to enable that ability using Samsung's Good Lock customization suite, and you might have to wait a short time after the phone's release for that to be rolled out. So there are still many reasons you might choose Motorola, but in terms of raw cover screen capability, yeah, it seems like Samsung just leveled the playing field. Oh, and Samsung gave us an always-on display option to boot. The only cover screen complaint I can call out ahead of my Flip 5 review is that even if you choose Gboard for your default keyboard, when it comes to the cover screen, you'll use the Samsung one, or you'll use nothing. Am I excited for the Flip and Fold 5? Absolutely. Remember, thanks to the Razr's 2-year absence from America, I've spent the past year living an exclusively Samsung foldable lifestyle. On a flight to Kansas City back in April, the guy next to me had to use his meal box to prop up his slab phone. But I was able to watch Joshua Vergara go hands-on with the new phone. Well, I went hands-free, thanks to Flex Mode on the Fold 4. Later on the same flight, I mined the video archive of the great Anthony Bourdain, R.I.P., for BBQ recommendations, while trawling Reddit for the same. I would later go on to use the Fold 4's camera to document that same southern mainstay, a task for which it was fairly well suited. And I also used the camera to capture footage of the whole reason I was there, a tour of Verizon's emergency preparedness measures for network reliability. And whether I'm on the road or not, I long ago lost count of all the ways the Fold and the Flip make my life easier as a content creator, and as a regular consumer. But you know the turn is coming, so let's just pluck this turkey. I have to say that I was expecting something a little more ambitious from Samsung this time around, especially when it comes to the Fold. I've been saying for years that I want that big telephoto camera to come from the Ultra to the Fold, because on that same Verizon trip, when I needed the reach to capture the antennas on a portable cell site, only the S23 Ultra could get the job done. And that just feels strange to say that this $1,800 phone in your pocket can't do all the things a $1,200 phone can do. Samsung's response has usually been something like, well, but the battery life would suffer if we had to make room for the periscope camera. Folks, the battery life on the Fold 4, mine at least, is already atrocious. I mean, we might as well get a camera upgrade if we're going to live with the same middling battery capacity and slow charging as last year. Both Fold and Flip retain the same figures there. And including the same exact camera hardware as last year, after doing nearly that the year before, it just smacks of the kind of complacency the competition will hopefully finally start to disrupt. And finally, there's the matter of durability. That's a horse we'll burn when we come to it, right after this. As you may have noticed, I'm back on the road this year, and that means my sponsor, Surfshark, is back in my taskbar. It's not that I don't trust airport or hotel Wi-Fi, but when I'm rushing around in travel mode, I worry that I might mistake a fraudulent public network for an authentic one. That's called an evil twin attack, by the way. Well, by using a VPN like Surfshark, I can make sure that all the data I'm sending while I'm on the go is encrypted, which keeps me safer. Also, it keeps me in control by making it harder for a service provider to throttle or limit my connection in order to squeeze me for more money. Speaking of money, save some. Get Surfshark at the link in the description and use code MrMobile for 83% off and 3 extra months free. Thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Okay, durability. Folks, I brutalize my phones. I don't put them in cases, and my foldables do just fine. I truly believe the category as a whole is much more rugged than many folks would believe. But I also believe that Samsung has been its own worst enemy here in 2 ways. First, Folding displays on Galaxy phones seem to have a significant rate of spontaneous failure. In other words, the screen just breaks one day through no fault of the user. That issue continues to be rife on Reddit, and it also happened to my colleague Nick Sutrick's wife, from whom these photos came. I'll leave links in the description. And second, peeling screen protectors. This one I can back up with personal experience. I've had to replace my Flip 4's factory screen protector not once, but twice in less than a year. Oh, and I've recently noticed my Fold 4 lifting at the edges too. Now, it doesn't seem to be dangerous to the display. It's not 2019. You can peel these off without destroying the display. But the bubbles and discolorations on lifting protectors are not a good look, to put it mildly. Especially since this problem has existed since at least the third generation, and Samsung specifically said last year that it wouldn't happen again. Here, you can listen to my reporting on it. Samsung says it's using a new adhesive on Flip 4 that should prevent that top layer from lifting at the edges. And it also says the display has a new layer structure and stronger ultra-thin glass, both of which should make it better able to handle shock damage. This year, it's the same PET plastic over the same ultra-thin glass with, I believe, the same adhesive. But Samsung says it's optimistic that the new crease design, combined with yet another adhesion process, will finally prevent this issue. Samsung also points out the fact that a one-time protector replacement is still free, and to be fair, there are more service and repair options for Samsung foldables than any other. To continue being fair, I haven't seen nearly the same screen failure rate, at least on Reddit, from manufacturers using water drop creases, a design Samsung is finally now using as well. But we're at the point where the company needs to actually deliver results before their claims can regain my credulity. Oh, and I forgot, also the little bumpers came off my Flip 4, but I actually don't mind this because it means I can close it even more loudly. Clack. If you're stoked for these 5th generation foldables, the prices are like many other details, the same as last year. And again, despite my concerns, I am excited. Well, at least for the Flip and the S Pen. But it'll take a full review of each to determine just how well Samsung will fare in this suddenly contested US foldable space. Subscribe to The Mr. Mobile on YouTube so you don't miss those videos coming soon. Disclosure, this video was produced following 2 hours with both new phones at a media event hosted by Samsung in New York City. Yes, the company was kind enough to invite me to Korea to see the launch firsthand, but I had travel conflicts that prevented it. Hope they don't launch a Galaxy Fold Ultra or something. As always, these were pre-production devices running pre-release software, and as always, the manufacturer received no editorial input, copy approval rights, or early previews of this content. And it provided no compensation in exchange for same. And if you want to see what kind of competition Samsung is up against this hot foldable summer, take a gander at my Pixel Fold and Motorola Razr Plus reviews. Until next time, from Michael Fisher, thanks for watching. And stay mobile, my friends.